I want to formally introduce Dr. Mera. And Dr. Mera, I remember the first time I went to Shah many, many years ago, and I remember having a session with him, and it was just really eye-opening for me. So he's been at the front end of the whole longevity thing for many, many years. And I would say he's Europe's leading longevity specialist, and he is the head of longevity unit at Shah Wellness Clinic. So he has over 30 plus years experience, and his work spans genetics, metabolism, hormones, and preventative aging. And he was inspired by personal loss and global research in the blue zones. We'll talk about that a little bit. He integrates advanced diagnostics with lifestyle medicine, and he's also an author of Young at Any Age. So he's renowned for helping people improve their health span, and he has a very long waiting list. So we're very privileged to have him here tonight. So I'm going to go straight into it. Dr. Mera, your journey into longevity medicine started with a kind of deeply personal experience, didn't it? Can you share that, how that kind of shaped your career?
Yes. I thank you for inviting me here. Thank you, everyone. Listen to me here now. Yes, indeed. I was trained as an internal medicine doctor many years ago, and spent 10 years of my after post graduate education to get information about internal medicine. I always loved internal medicine because I was a sort of conductor of the health, and then we try to play. I was not a virtuoso of any instrument, but I learned to play all the instruments of health. So this is I was not, I insist, a very, very virtuous person, but I let the music play. And this is what people come to see me. They say, wow, you make me, feel better. I know that. But I have a bad experience because some of my patients came late. They came with cardiovascular disease, they come with neurocognitive diseases, they come with heart attacks, cancer, whatever. And then I was really surprised that I couldn't go on time. And the worst experience was my own father, that he had a big problem, medical problem. He was young those days. I was a young doctor, and he was also a doctor, by the way, but he was in his 50s. And he said, well, one day, oh, Vincent, I have a pain here. And, we doctors, we cannot be ill. So he said, I want you to have a look. And for me, really bad experience to identify a big cancer in my father. And some days after, probably he was having pain, but he didn't mention anything to anyone. And he passed away, sadly, some days after I saw him. And I say, wow, I couldn't do anything for my own father. How can I help people if I cannot help my own father? But then I decided from that moment to say, well, I'm not going to wait patients to come to me. I will go to see patients earlier. And I start to do, backwards, my way back to medicine. So I say, I'm not going to wait until people is ill. I will try to go earlier at the very beginning when they are really healthy, and I'll try to keep them healthy. And that's the reason why I changed completely, dramatically, 180 degrees my career, and I went to go to longevity. And those days, nobody speaks about longevity. Nobody. I was one of the pioneers in the world. And I said, well, this is what we have to do. Some of my colleagues smile and they say, well, why you should do? And some of them, when I send them to my colleagues, they say, why do you send me this gentleman? It has nothing. I say, well, ophthalmologists, cardiologists, and so on. I am very busy. Why you send me this patient? And I say, well, because I want you to keep them healthy. And say, don't send me that people. I'm busy. I don't want that. It was a big mistake. So I started to do that myself. Okay. And here in SHA, we say, go to SHA, we will do a program, and we try to help you. And we have a big team now. I started myself, by the way, about 15 years ago, and now we have a big team of more than 250 people doing all this job, this orchestra that try to get the music play, and this is what we do now. So people come to see us when they are healthy, or they think that they are healthy sometimes, because a problem that sometimes we believe that we are healthy, but it depends on also the capacity of your doctor to identify the problem, because sometimes the illness are not evident, and we have to identify them, and we have to plan a strategy on a long-term basis. Never is, I don't want to solve problems today. Many people come, please help me with this, help me. No, if you want help, it takes time. It's a long journey, it's not a simple one. So we can help, and we can tell. I compare a SHA with a sort of roundabout, where you come from different roads, some of them big highways, some other one, small one, but you leave the motorway or whatever you come from in a different way. And this is don't look at the size of the road. Don't think that it's easy or not. Don't think that you are prepared for that road or not. Just look at what is it saying there. Where is the destination of that road? Look at the health as destination, and then you will go to the proper road. And sometimes it takes 2 or 3 laps, before they realize where to go. But we put signs where to go, and this is what we do. So this is the way that I started, and this is the same way that I'm still doing now.
Yeah, well, you look amazing. You never seem to age. Every time I see you, you look the same as you did.
Well,
when
I try to do my
15
best.
Years ago. So you practice what you preach, clearly.
Yes,
but
yes,
I think the whole idea of preventative health is becoming much more common now, and people are understanding it. Obviously, after the pandemic, people started to recognize that, I can't wait till I'm sick just to go to the doctor. I need to start really looking at how I am and what I'm doing. And we'll talk about that more later, about the testing element and what people should be looking for. But when you started your career and you started to think about longevity, you studied the blue zones, didn't you? Because you actually went to Okinawa, and you went to the Galapagos, and you went to some of these blue zone areas.
Yes, I have seen all the blue zone. And I have, once I decided to see, well, let's go to see what they do, because obviously the result, the quality of something, or the reason for anything, it depends on the structure, the process, and the results. And I started with the results. So I went to the places where people live longer, and then tried to learn the structure and the process. And then one of them was Japan, was my favorite, because it's true that they get 2 goals, they achieve 2 goals that the majority of my patients need to follow. Is they are slim, they are not overweight, and they live longer. It's the 2 things that normally people love now. So I think that because there are some other places where they live longer, but they are not, in Spain, for instance, we live longer, but not necessarily good shape. This is amazing, So why to go there? So I went to Japan, particularly in Okinawa, between Japan and China and Taiwan, and they have a wonderful, I learned a lot of things there, and mostly all about nutrition, in terms of exactly what is the goal with nutrition, because when we talk about, people are interested in quality of the food, and this is very important to have a very good quality food, but they also pay attention, and even more attention, to the quantity of what they eat, okay? And sometimes I insist, too much attention to the quality, but not to the quantity. And they have the expression that I brought, and I make it, very popular now in internet. You can see that expression that they call Hera Hachi Bu. This is an expression that means that they never eat too much. Hara is the stomach, Hachi is the number 8. So they say, Ambu is a sort of declination. So they always say that you should never eat more than 8 parts out of 10 in your body that your stomach can support. So this is one of the most important things if you want to be slim, okay? And if you want to be slim, you are also healthier, always, with certain limits, obviously. Too underweight is a big problem as well, but I'm talking about in general way. So in Japan, we learned that, and the way that they do that is an economic, process. If you spend all the money that you have, your income every week or every month, and you spend all the money that you have, well, if you need at the end of the period, you need an extra, you need a small thing extra, you cannot do that because you have no money. So if you leave 20% of your reserves and you don't need 80%, 100%, then you can have an extra. And because for me it was a big shock when I went at the airport in Okinawa. I was it was 16 years old girl, and she was with an ice cream. And I say, well, how can you take, I asked her, how do you take an ice cream? I don't think that it was healthy. But she answered, and that's the moment that I realized the meaning of the word hara hachibu. She said, well, but I follow my rules. I save my calories during the whole week. So if I want to take an ice cream, I can take an ice cream. And she was really slim. So this is the first thing. But there are some other, we learned there in Galapagos, in Costa Rica, in Loma Linda in California, we learned a lot of, strategies that they follow to increase longevity and live longer and better, okay? And one of them was also exercise, very important. They all exercise. Normally they are islands. Okinawa is an island. In islands, you don't take your car, you walk, and they have that, or they use bicycles and so on. Exercise was a very important point. The type of food that they eat, normally they take pulses or legumes, and very common in all these areas. They share that. And one of the things that they share and they have learned is the special social network. They are how important. And during the pandemic, we learned that when you don't have this social, environment, that you ask your friends, how are you? And they ask you, how are you as well? Then you keep alive and you live longer when you have someone. This is something that we see. I see people sometimes old, and when one of the couple, passed away for any reason, the other one is amazing. In 2-3 months, they also leave. And the reason for that is the importance of this link that we have to work, not only with us, but also with our beloved people that they are surround us. Very important to work that also, okay? So it's not only the diet, the exercise, but the social network is one of the most important things. Apart from the rest, we have to rest, and they rest a lot. So this square of health is something that we have learned, and we try to mention to all our patients. The balance, and should be balanced: nutrition, exercise, sleep, and stress management, and social, relationship. This is the square of health. Supported. After that, we learned that there are three legs that support that square. That is the hormones, particularly in certain age. Menopause is very important for that. Post-menopause, perimenopause. This is very important for women and men, not only women.
You're jumping a little bit ahead. Slow down for me a minute, because I'm structuring
it. We'll discuss that later on, okay?
Yeah, we'll discuss that later. You're jumping it, because that's an important point. But I'm really happy that you mentioned social connection and community, because it is very important. And you're absolutely right. That is, you see decline when people are lonely, you know, and people can have the best diets and the exercise and all of that, but if they don't have people around them where they have social connection, it's pretty major. So let's get back to the actual point of longevity, because there's a lot of confusion about longevity, you know, and there's a lot of high-tech stuff going on, and you know, some people call it biohacking, other people call it bio-optimization, you know, where there's equipment that you can achieve something much quicker than doing it maybe the natural way. But when we talk about longevity, what are we really talking about? We're talking about cellular age, lifespan, health span. What is your definition of longevity?
Well, it's true. Longevity, they have many meanings of that. There is synonyms. Okay, so this is one of them. Is the difference between health span and lifespan. There are different things. Okay, obviously we want to live longer, but to live longer is an opportunity to. It's just a matter of opportunity. So, and the need of longer, you know, lifespan depends on how old you are. I always put the example of my mother. My father passed away very early and in his 50s, but my mother was in his 90s. So, and what was the difference? She said to me every year, Vincent, please, one more year. I wish I live one more year, only one. And for her, and he say, "Ma, why you want to live one more year and not 10?" He say, "I want to see my great grand, you know, these sort of things. I want to see that project that I started many years ago. I just want to see that. I want to hug my grandchildren, you know, these sort of things. That's all for me." But when we are in the 40s, the 50s, obviously we think that 1 year is nothing and that is not interesting to live longer. But every year matters, depending on how old you are. Even if you are not 100%, okay? Even if you are not 100%. Obviously, better if you are 100%. But it's something like thinking that people disabled, for instance, they shouldn't live, you know, because they say, well, she is disabled, why to live longer? Well, I don't know exactly if it is true or not, okay? So what we want is, my experience is that if you are all right and you try to keep your 7 pillars of health, it's not only that you live longer, you live and you live healthier as well. But it's true that so the main goal is to try to live longer, and if you live longer and you plan all the strategies to live longer, you live healthier as well. Okay, but if you try to live healthier, not necessarily you will live longer. Okay, so this is something that it matters. So
but there's a lot of people that live longer who have a really bad quality of life. I mean, the average age has really increased, but their life is not, you know, they're
of course,
chronic illnesses.
This is, we don't want people to live longer, only longer, okay?
Only
but
longer.
I believe in the word of the second and the third opportunities. So sometimes if you don't have the opportunity to live longer, you cannot repeat. You know, millionaires always have a bankrupt before the big business that they have. You sometimes, your husband or your partner, the good one, the very good one, is not the first one. Sometimes it's the second or the third one. Okay, so if you don't leave the second opportunity, Marilyn Monroe, for instance, maybe will find the good partner, but later on, you know, she has no time to do that. You see, she never found the real partner that she met. So we need to live longer, but with quality of life, of course. This is a balance. But this is very tricky question, you know, mom and dad, who is the best? It's very difficult, but I insist, if you live with quality of life and you prevent illnesses and you are following all these protocols that we try to promote, my experience of life is that you also live longer. So this is the thing. But just I wish I live longer is not enough. It doesn't work. Okay, so we have to do proactively something to live better and then increase our quality of life. The other point is we have serious difficulties now at the age of, let's say, I can keep patients at the age of 90 without any illness, perfectly, very healthy in terms of mobility, in terms of neurocognition, in terms of that. But we have now, I suppose that we will improve that, but it's hard to go further in the 90s, okay? So the 90s, you have, let's say, from 90s to centenarians, then you have serious problem of mobility. So you will live until you're 100, but you will see people in wheelchairs, for instance, because they cannot stand them and so on. So this is not what we want, but well, if you go and your head is all right and your brain and your emotions and all this square is okay, well, why not? You know, this is something that you have to talk to people. I have to. This is sometimes the problem. Talk to people at this age, and you see if they have, obviously, if they have bad memory, they have pain, particularly pain, or they have to be with doctors constantly. This is not a good quality of life, and I don't recommend that. But we can prevent that, but with a strategy that we have to start the sooner the better. The sooner. But
when should we start, Dr. Mera? Should we start in our 50s, in our 40s, in our 60s?
35. 35 is the idea.
Probably a lot of us here are beyond that.
Yes.
Maybe there are some younger people here, but it's never too late, right, to start?
Never is too late. Never is too late. But there is a graph. You can see that when you just improve your quality of life and you get all the benefits until you are 35. When you start to be 35, there is a peak in your life. From that moment, you start to decline, slowly decline. So this is the moment to start. But you have every decade from 45, 55, 65, 75, and 85, we can start different programs according to the age, okay? But I have to confess that the best result that I have is when people start at the age of 35, But it never is too late, because as far as you can improve a little bit, if you are 85 and you can reach your 90s in a good shape, this works very well. This is very important to tell people, I think if they are to the audience, that they understand that when you reach, is something I compare with the Everest. When you try to climb the Everest, there is it's very important to decide what side of the Everest you will climb, the north or the south. Because the north, there is the first 3,000 meters is hard. You can't climb, but when you reach that, there is a valley, and you slowly go to the 5,000 easily. You don't notice that. But if you go to the other south, the south, then you have the 5,000 meters climbing very difficultly. So how important is to start and try to find that valley? And this is my task, to tell you where to go easily and improve. Never is too late if you reach that point later. But if you can do that early, better. And the earlier, the better. And we can make it very easy to age easily without big problems.
But can I ask you something? Sorry to interrupt you. How do you know what your biological age is? I'm just talking from my experience, so I lead a really healthy lifestyle. I'm healthier now than I was in my 30s, because I was unhealthy in my 30s, so as you get older, you get a better lifestyle. But I didn't really know what was going on with my health until I did the cellular testing. Now, we go here and we have our bloods, we have our regular blood tests,
Yes.
Our full lipid panels and our nutrients. But how do you really know where somebody is?
Yes, there are two. We are working hard on this new what we call clocks, to see exactly what is your age. We have 3 ages, three. One is the calendar age that we cannot modify so far, okay? And we are older every year, and this is good because the alternative is really bad. So calendar age, this is not the most important, okay? Obviously, we plan strategies according to your calendar age because the cells change, the tissue change. Obviously, you have menopause if you are 50, if you are 30, you are not in menopause. So the calendar age is very important to plan the strategy, but it's not the most important. The other point is the appearance, age. That is what people normally like more. They say, well, I would like to look younger than I am. And this is a very simple job. We in SHA, for instance, we do minimally invasive techniques. You can improve easily. But I remember one day, someone who came to see me and say, doctor, I need to be perfect in 10 days. And I say, wow, 10 days? You asked me for 10 days, a good transformation of your body. I say, I'm not Harry Potter, but I try to do my best. What is what you like? And I say, look, I tell you, I was interested in the reason why she wants to check in 10 days. And she said, I tell you something. I have a wedding. It's my daughter. Everything was done, made and paid, very expensive, by the way, everything, including my dress and so on. And I realized 2 days ago that I cannot use that dress anymore, So I need to change. Do your best. Whatever. I don't care about price, whatever you need. And I say, well, if it is only for one picture, it's only for one night. Yes, the best way that you can do that is use the filters of TikTok. You can change the filters so you have the picture for everyone. Because she was concerned about the picture of the family that day. I don't want to remember my family this way. I say, well, this is the first. So you can go from filters of any platform to, makeup or maybe minimally invasive techniques, and you can go to surgery, of course. I never promote surgery because I'm not against surgery, but we don't do surgery because it's invasive and you can have even bad results, okay? So we leave that for different professionals. This is the aging. You can modify, but I remember one example. It was Cristiano Ronaldo, that football player, that he was here in Madrid. He was given a wax museum sculpture made with, three-dimensional scan. So he was perfect, his face and his body. He went to the Madame Tussauds here in Madrid, and he was very peculiar. And he say, I don't like it. I don't think that this is me, I don't think that that's me. And they say, Cristiano, we have spent the last technology, 3 scan. It's exactly you. Say, no, it's not me. You know why? Because the appearance is not real. The appearance, you look at my pictures and you will find me differently. I am moving my hands, I'm talking, I'm smiling, I'm saying things, I'm joking. This is your appearance. When you only limit your appearance to a picture, you will find something very curious that's not you, isn't it? Even if you have a scan. So forget the appearance only, because it's very difficult.
But I think our society has very much been just the appearance, up until now. And now people are recognizing the appearance is, it's not meaningless, it's important, but there's what's going on inside, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you can modify, even without big interventions, you can modify with your posture, for instance. If you look younger, if you put in a different way, you talk in a different way, you move in a different way, this is completely different. So this is what we promote. Change your appearance, but from inside. The posture is very important, the posture, okay?
Yeah. Now you're making me sit up straight.
Yeah. Number 3, and this is the most important for me, this is the biological age, okay? We call biological age. This is very hard because we have to give only one parameter to summarize all your age. And this, we are working hard in that, okay? We have different tests, and we use telomeres, for instance, is the length of the telomeres is the last part of the chromosome. There is a lot of research about that, most of them here in Spain. We have a very good research here with the telomeres. We ourselves, we have a very big series, probably one of the best in Europe in number, because we test everyone the telomeres, okay? And then we can see the correlation between telomeres and biological age according to many things. This is one of the things. Now we are using also another test that is called methylation. That is it's an epigenetic change of the DNA. The telomere is a genetic test. We check the DNA, the last part that is not coding, is just structural, give a structure to the DNA, and when you make it shorter, you destroy the DNA. But the methylation is an epigenetic change that you do in the DNA, and we can measure according to that. There are many clocks, Horvath and was the pioneer on this, and many others that estimate the age very accurately nowadays, but obviously only from this point of view. So we would like to find, but they don't take in consideration clinical parameters, okay? And this is what we are doing now with actually our clock is not only to check, because you can find different things when you check telomeres, for instance, and you check the biological age, they give you one, and when you check your methylation, they give you a different one. And people, my patient, they don't understand why I have good methylation but bad telomeres. I have good age for this and good. I always explain that it's something like the tailor. When you go to the tailor, I have to make my shirts, because I have one problem. I have long hands, but I have short neck. So if I go to any shop, I cannot find exactly someone that fits me, okay? So I have to go to the tailor and say, please, short here, longer here. The same happened with the biological age. So you can have shorter methylation and longer telomeres. So it happens. So it could be. But we are now trying to give a new parameter, including all these, and also factors such as, blood pressure and some others that they don't take in consideration, and some other parameters, clinical and biochemistry as well. There are many, many biomarkers, including something as simple as the strength of your hands. For instance, there is a close connection between the strength of your hand and your longevity, for instance. A lot of research. Or the longevity and your capacity, fitness capacity, we call VO2 max. For instance, your capacity, fitness, it depends on that. So we have to include that, and that we are trying to do with artificial intelligence, one parameter, because we need to see, as if I say you are 40-year-old, well, you understand what is being 40-year-old. And I want you to understand what is 40 years of biological age means, all this inside. We are working hard on this, and we are pioneers as well, try to find, not in the laboratory, because the laboratory, I insist that we know telomeres and methylation, there is a very accurate test, but we would like to put, as I always want to have, and in SHA, we want to be a whole medicine, the integrative, all the parameters, we want to see that. And when we say to someone that he or she is 40 or 50-year-old, biological age is not only considering telomeres, is not only considering methylation, but we also check the cognition, the posture, some other parameters, okay, the strength, and so on.
I did that when I went to Mexico, and I did the testing there.
Yes.
And I learned, obviously I did the whole, all of those parameters you test, but the hand strength, I didn't know that. That was quite shocking for me, about that hand strength, that if you have a weak grip, it shows that you're aging faster than you should be, right? And then, I mean, obviously cognition, we all know, memory,
Mm.
There was lots of memory tests, and so there's lots of various aspects to it that you're looking at. But if somebody can't come to SHA or isn't planning to come for another year, where would they start? What would they do?
Well, I think that the best thing is to find a strategy. Nothing is worse than chaotic, do it yourself. It doesn't work, okay? Trust me,
Right.
it doesn't work. But now we have internet and we have many health coach that can help us with this. So my advice is start with these 7 parameters that I was going to tell you, and we go right now.
Yeah.
Check what you eat. And what you eat is 4 answers that you have to find. What to eat, where to buy what you have to eat. Very important. It's not only a list of things that you have to eat. Where to buy it is completely different to buy organic food or buy it, in a supermarket or in a delivery. Number 3 is how to cook. There is a big difference between we can maybe eat. Sometimes I say to a patient, I eat the same like you eat, but I cook in a different way. So look at me and you will see the difference. You don't cook. For instance, French fries, nothing to do with boiled or steamed potatoes, nothing to do. It's the same food. So in the list, you put potatoes, and then French fries is a big difference. And number 4 is the way that we chew, because when we are stressed and we are in a hurry or we are anxious, we eat, instead of eating and chewing, we gulp down, we are like pelicans, try to eat everything because we are in a hurry. You are in your office and you want to eat in 10 minutes. You take your sandwich, you take your salad, and wah. This is a big mess after. It's better not to eat. We promote intermittent fasting in these circumstances. If you don't have time to eat, my advice is fast and eat later. So this is a very good attitude. The thing is, doctor, I'm hungry. How can I solve the problem? I have the solution for almost everything. The solution when you are hungry is to plan a strategy. Here in SHA, we do that something. We learn from Japan. Again, Japan. They love miso soup, okay? Not everyone can take miso soup, but miso soup is a very, very superfood. We have in the food, we have superfood and we have anti-food. And we have to and food in the middle. Everything could be eaten. But there are certain things that they give you, apart from energy, they give you antioxidants, they give you probiotics, they give you anti-inflammatory substances. So we have to try to introduce a little bit these products. And there are some other food that they give you exactly the opposite. They inflame you, they oxide you, they take all your biological age. So try to avoid or limit. I don't want to be, strict with this, do this. No, but moderation. What is that? In the group of superfood, miso and olive oil are the best. So if you can add olive oil and miso soup every single day, well, you have 80% of the problem solved. But we have to do that on a daily basis.
So with the miso soup, it was the first time not the first, because I've been to SHA before, but when I first came to SHA, I was served miso for breakfast,
yes,
which I thought was genius in a way, because it's something that we don't usually think about as a breakfast food,
yes,
but it's very comforting. It's a very comforting food as you're eating it. And especially for cold climates, like in the UK, for example. Yes. But one thing I was aware there, and I learned, is that you can't just take those packets of miso and mix it with water, right?
Yes.
You should get the paste. And so there's like a bit of a ritual in making it and making sure you have the seaweed in that. But I've got to tell everybody the whole process, because I've started to do that, doesn't take long at all. It takes maybe 10 minutes and you make it for the week, and then you've got it for the morning. So it is that, it's very much, the miso is a very interesting.
We always start the day, I start my day with miso, and there are 4 properties very important to remember. Number 1, blocks your appetite, which is very important. All those who are hungry the whole day, that they will eat everything, that they cannot follow a diet, well, miso help here. Here in Sha, we have complaints of many things because we have top people and they complain of everything. But we never complain of being hungry. Nobody says, I'm not hungry. And if you know the number of calories that you eat, and the reason is miso, number one. Number two, probiotics. Miso is full of probiotics, so you don't have to add probiotics. You just give it to people very naturally. Number three is very good for clean. You know, the face that we see, if you go to Japan and you see Japanese people, the skin of these people is not genetic, it's ethnicity. No. There are two reasons for this beautiful face that they have. Number one is miso, because they clean the skin. So if you want to keep your face clean and so on, is miso. And the other one is that they hate the sun. You know, they hate the sun. So the two conditions that make the face really, really nice. And the fourth one is longevity. There are some research, and they say that this 5% of Japanese that they don't eat miso, they live shorter than the rest. So there should be something interesting.
Interesting. Okay, so it's not just genetics; it's the
No.
miso.
You know,
well, I tell you what I'm going to do. Everybody who's registered for this event, I will email you with Shah's miso recipe, so you can make it.
Yes. Yeah. And it's a very simple recipe. And the most important is that it's nice and tasty. So I think that is really good. And in the other side, you have the anti-food that you shouldn't take. The number one is sugar. You know, sugar is the worst enemy of health. Okay, so try to avoid sugar. Obviously, if you are not working in a mine, or you are working in a, you are moving energy, or you are, riding a bicycle. But if you are like you or me in an office the whole day sitting down, you don't need sugar at all. So very, very moderation with sugar, because it destroys your flora, this produces cholesterol, produces glycosidation of the skin and so on. This is horrible. The other one is not for everyone, but gluten is very inflammatory in general, okay? So try to limit gluten as far as you can. And finally, red meat. This is another thing that we know that produces cancer, that there is related to that. And dairy products, because of the fat, also are not considered particularly healthy, okay? But obviously, we have to consider every person in particular, age and so on. So if you can take your superfood, olive oil and miso, and try to avoid sugar, gluten, dairy as much as you can, and the red meat on a daily basis, you have a wonderful results, okay? This is just that. The other point is the exercise. Remember, not only cardiovascular, but also strength. With the strength, you increase your hunger.
One thing quickly. The food, which takes priority first, the food or the exercise?
This is a very good question. I tell you, exercise probably is easier to control than food, because food needs two things, quality and quantity. And this is very hard to do that. But probably it's more important food, but it's easier the exercise, because, for instance, I follow my rules and I only need 15 minutes every day. It's very easy for me. But if I take the time that I need for, cooking and eating and so on, is a lot, so it's easier the exercise. That's the reason why I always say, don't forget the exercise, because you need half an hour. You don't need more. And you can do, what I recommend is divide your time, half an hour or 1 hour every day, and divide it in 3 parts. And then use 1/3 of this time, let's say 20 minutes or 15 minutes or 10 minutes. Any minute is important. For one is cardiovascular. So walk, swim, or run, or jog, whatever you can do that. according to your own situation. Obviously, if you have good knees, if you have good hips, etc. Number two is strength. You have to do weights training. And this is 10 minutes is enough. You don't need more. And you will see that after 3, 4, 5 years, you will be very strong. Your hand grip strength will be high, and then you will live longer. Why? Because if you have a fall, you can sustain your body. This is the reason. It's no more, no other magic reason. Is that if you have, that's the reason why a man should have 50% at least, 50% of his strength is the weight. So my weight is 70 kilos, for instance. So I need 35 here, 35 here, because if I fall, then I can sustain my body. The same happened to you, but you have to eat according to your weight, of course. And the last exercise is the, Pilates, mobility, stretching, this sort of thing, because remember that the posture is very important. And then if you don't do Pilates, you can be very strong, but you can be, like, Saddam Hussein when they was in the sculpture, you can fall. But this is not. You have to be very agile and, exercise. This is yoga, Pilates, Tai Chi, Qigong, these sort of things that you can dedicate maybe 10 minutes every day. This is the most important. Don't forget the other square. So you have two corners, exercise and diet. And on the top, sleep. We must sleep. This is a must. We cannot, now with the lifestyle that we follow, with the social media, with the, all these platforms that they take us a lot of time, then we take time for the night and we don't sleep as much as we need. We need to sleep at least 40 hours per week. I say per week because it's not the same the working days than the weekend. Obviously, you can compensate. But in my experience or my research, if you don't sleep these 40 hours minimum, ideally 50 hours, but minimally 40. You just pay with telomeres, you pay with methylation, we pay with biological age, and every week you pay, and then you have to be careful with that. So sleep enough number of hours. Now with the devices, all these.
I have one. This
Aura ring that you have. You
very
can
good.
test it without obsession. I hate obsession with this type of biohacking. Okay, so this I know that, but it's good to know. How can you know that in a week you haven't slept 40 hours? Well, you have to check it. That's all, and you can see that. And obviously, you need at least. I'm saying the minimum. Don't misunderstand me. This is not the ideal. The minimum is 1 hour of REM every day, 1 hour of deep sleep every day. So if you don't get these 2 hours, you are in a big problem, and you will collapse, and you will have a burnout sooner or later. Obviously, it's better if you have 2 hours of each, but 1 hour is the minimum that you can see. So you have to check, because sometimes we do 3 things that looks the same thing. We have a program here for sleep, by the way. It's very, very important. And we close the eyes. If I close my eyes, I'm not sleeping. So don't confuse closing your eyes with sleeping. Number 2, I sleep. And number 3, I rest. Not always that we sleep, we rest. Sometimes the time for resting is this, that we say deep sleep. This is resting time. So how can we know that? Maybe you say, well, I haven't slept 4 hours today, or 5 hours, or 7 or 8. But how many hours of resting sleep? You can see that with this Oura ring, with the Whoops, the Garmin, all the devices that you have, the Apple Watch, whatever you have.
I recommend people do that. I think you can even get apps now on your watches and all kinds of things, because it's a surprise. Take it from me, what you think you sleep and what you actually sleep is a surprise. And it's actually I agree with you, you can't become too obsessed with these devices, but what they do is they they kind of subconsciously put you in a space where you create good habits because you want your scores to be better. So then you're very mindful of how you're living because you want to, I mean, a glass of wine in the evening for me is a disaster. It affects my sleep, right?
Yes.
I can see that. A glass of wine at lunchtime, not so bad for me. But so, you know, I hardly drink in the evening anymore because I want good sleep. But I wouldn't have known that without this this device. So I think sometimes these devices really help.
Yes, absolutely. We actually, if you don't have the this device, we provide this device while you are in SHA. We give that to check it, okay, just to see that, to have a look. Remember that another thing that I recommend is naps. Naps are very good if you have to wake up very early and you cannot sleep the good number of hours. Nap. I am one of the members of this society of lovers of nap, nap lovers, and there were three people, let's say the people, the honored presidents of our society. Number one was Albert Einstein. He loved that, and I explained you that he used to have that nap every day, because he slept very little and he compensated with the nap. Sometimes they just fall. And the other one was Salvador Dali. They knew each other and they also sleep good naps, Winston Churchill allegedly also sleep at naps, okay? So these three people, they have a tip that I transmit to my patients, and I do that myself. I love the Albert Einstein one. He used to sleep with an apple. So the nap was the apple nap. So he was always obsessed with the apple, Newton's apple, And he said, remember, his motto was, all human beings, they want different results, but they never change anything. This is what he said. So we take in the apple and he say, I have to change the vision of the apple, And he was constantly with an apple. And the apple was good because he was sleeping a little nap, and when it was after 20 minutes, then the apple was about to fall, and there was a big sound, pop, and then open. Wow! And this was the way that he wakes. In that moment, he wakes when he was in phase 3, 4, sometimes, not a deep sleep. So this is the very creative point of our sleep. Dali said exactly the same. He said, I can only paint, interesting, really, this type of surrealism that he used to paint. It was only because he was sleeping, actually. He was in that part of the sleep. So when he opened the eyes, he started to paint these things that you can see in Madrid in the museum of Dali. So this is really nice. And so the sleep is not only taking, back to your rest, but also immediately after the siesta, the nap, you become really, really creative. Very, very important, okay? So for people who want to change life and change something in the day, you have to solve problems. This time of Eureka, the Archimedes. You have the insight and you find the solution for anything, Sometimes I sleep, and when I found, unfortunately, I have, limited capacity, so I'm not that genius, but sometimes I solve my problems, personal or any patient. I say, wow, I know what to do with this patient. This is after a nap. So I always recommend.
There's a question that's come up here. We're going to switch over very quickly here about hormones, because hormones massively affect sleep, right?
Absolutely.
And that's women and men.
The three legs that sustain the square of health. Remember, nutrition, exercise, sleep, and social stress and management. And there are three legs that sustain this square. One of them, the central one, is the hormones. So that means that our health changes dramatically in menopause, perimenopause time. Women and men. The men, the things that we never know exactly when we are in menopause or andropause, because we don't have periods. But women is very clear that they have, and we have this, the big five, this problem with the hot flashes, the memory, attention, sleep. We become moody and even grumpy sometimes. And obviously the skin, until that age, we lose 1% of our collagen. And from that point on, we lose 5%. So from 1 to 5. So we notice one sign of menopause for me, even if I don't know the period of that person, is when they come to see me and say, what is your problem? Tell me. I always ask that question to my patient. And they say, doctor, yesterday I look in the mirror and I realized that I was not that people. I was not me, And when you said that, and you look in the mirror and you don't recognize yourself, and you say, that's not me, you are in menopause. I said, this is the problem. And then we have to sort it out with hormones. I always promote hormones to everyone, women or men, unless they cannot take them, because there are some conditions. There are 3 groups of people. Some of them, they respond dramatically, extraordinary well to hormones. You can go to your 35 again without in less than 2-3 weeks. There is a second group, they respond pretty well, but it's not for firework. Okay, so they improve. And the third, they have side effects. So hormones are not for everyone. We do some tests, some of them genomic, some profile, and so on. So hormones not for everyone, but 2/3 of the population can take it. And one of them, 50% of these 2/3, they have extraordinary results. So why not to give them with no side effects at all? So I always promote hormonal replacement, but the hormonal replacement in a bioidentical way. We don't do that with injections, or very carefully with a bioidentical, following the precursors as well. So it's and we have this program. I personally follow this protocol. We have our own protocol to supplement these hormones to everyone. And the other 2 legs that we have for health is, one is the detox. Many people come to us looking for detox. We have a wonderful capacity to detox. So the problem, I always say, the problem is not what you do, the problem is how you clean yourself after that, okay? Because we can have a good capacity to detox. We have a good department. We have even apheresis. We can change your blood completely if you have a autoimmune disorder, or you have using drugs or whatever. We can clean easily. So because I don't want to patronize and say to people, don't smoke, don't drink, don't use drugs. Sometimes it's very hard for me to say that, because everyone say, doctor, I know what to do. Don't tell me what to do. So, but I say, please take a shower after that.
Please, so do you think people should, even if people lead a fairly healthy lifestyle, do you think they should detox every year?
Absolutely, because we have, this is what we call, we are, let's say 1/3 genome, and 2/3 exposome. What is exposome? Exposome is all what is not genomic, all what is not inherited from your father and mother, okay? So the exposome is 2/3, is twice as important. And this exposome, yes.
Those people in the blue zones that go on until, like in Okinawa, in Sardinia, in all these places, do they detox? Did they detox?
Yes, naturally, with food.
Or as part of maybe their religious.
Yes, there are, because they follow, for instance, in Loma Linda, for instance, they are Adventists, and they follow strictly certain Bible rules that they are very healthy, okay? They don't smoke, for instance, and they don't drink alcohol. They don't, they follow certain rules. In the blue zones, there are these sort of things. But even if you follow a very healthy way of life, you need sometimes detox, because in the exposome, depends on where you live. If you live in London or in Shanghai, it's completely different. You live in Alicante, where I am, we have no practically pollution. But what about the food? What about the water? What about the fish that we eat? microplastic epidemic that we have now, that everyone can have. I test microplastic in the urine of our patients, and we found surprisingly healthy people. Wow, a lot of microplastic.
Scary.
It's a big problem. So always important to detox. And the last point is the microbiota. We all every day give more importance to this axis, brain, gut axis, and this is very immune, brain, gut immune axis, even skin. I have solved a lot of problems with skin trouble, including alopecia, this areata, which is there holes here. This is very sad condition, psoriasis, acne, rosacea, these sort of things. You know how I have solved it? With the diet and the probiotics. When we change the microbiota, people that they come with fibromyalgia, people that they come with headaches, people that they come depressed, and then you change the microbiota, you do some tests, you identify the leaky gut, these sort of things, and then they change dramatically. So this is another point that we pay in consideration. We follow, we have a big department for that.
So we're over our time, but if you don't mind, I just want to keep you another 5 minutes. Is that okay?
Yes, 5 minutes, and we finish.
Okay. The stress. Yes. Because I just want to talk about stress, because stress is undiagnosed for many people. They normalize it and they think their life is not okay. They don't feel the stress. Some people get anxious and they feel it, but a lot of people don't feel that. How do you know that you're really stressed? How do you test for stress?
Yes,
when
we test stress here. Yes, it's very, very interesting question, because we don't know exactly we are stressed or not. As a general rule, we all say I'm stressed, but I'm not stressed, I'm all right. We test it with the variation of the heart rate variation. This is a very cardiovascular way, because when you are stressed, we have two pedals from the brain where we drive our car. One is the brake and the other one is the accelerator. So we can use, gently the two pedals, but according to that, the accelerator is the sympathetic system, which is the stress that accelerates your heart rate and put you, in a situation that we can identify easily in the clinic, because your heart rate starts and the variation stops. And then the other one is the brake, and we can also check that your heart rate is low and that the variation is more important. So when people has higher heart rate than they should have for their condition, the age and physical condition, they have normally physical stress. And when they have no variation, they have is the opposite what people normally think. If you unexpectedly, when you start the webinar today, you find me this way, you will say, well, he's stressed. He will die in any moment, Why? Because my variation is very low. I will be boo, boo, boo. This is what we found here in burnout people, This is very simple. No variation. So your heart is very slowly and you don't change. But now,
if you have low HRV, you are burnt out and stressed.
You can find out easily with a machine. We have a machine.
With the HRV, you can find it with your different.
If my variation now that I'm talking, I'm not stressed. Apparently now my variation is up and down, up and down. This is good. You smile, you joke, you move. This is healthy person. A stressed person is this, you don't move. You are flat. This is really bad. We can detect it. And we can see also, the most important is not that we can detect it. The most important is that we can modify and improve it with some interventions. We use, from psychology, we love Chinese and Eastern technologies for that, Tai Chi, Qigong, Pranayama,
meditation,
of course.
And I have one more question. Somebody's asked it. How much olive oil do you think people should have every day?
Well, I think that you need a minimum of let's say, no more than, because there is one problem with the olive oil, which is caloric, okay? No more than a tablespoon, but you need a tablespoon every day. You can divide it in the salad and in the, you put it in another food. A tablespoon is the dose that we normally recommend. Okay, this is the minimum.
Yeah. Thank you. Well, we've gone.
Have to leave it.
Yeah, we've gone 10 minutes over. I'm so grateful for your time. I mean, listen, we could talk to you all night because you just can talk about everything. But it's been so helpful. Thank you so much.
Okay.
And really, really appreciate your time and your energy and your passion in this subject and your ongoing research. I mean, you're continuing to push the boundaries.
We have more than 200,000 people in our database where we are researching and changing everything every day. And we are learning every day of this behavior, what to do, what not to do. We have but very important, we have healthy people, because we have some other colleagues, when I go to different conferences, they show me people in wheelchairs, dementia, and I say, well, this is not the people that I work with. Don't give me this. I don't want people in that state.
You're preventing them becoming.
Absolutely. And my database.
That's what I want to say to everybody here. I think an investment at a stay somewhere like SHA is, it really is an investment, because what you're doing is preventing illness. Our culture, especially in England with the NHS, is just go when you're sick,
You're sick.
But we have to prevent that and have, be in a position where we don't want to get sick. So I highly recommend everyone goes to SHA if they can, because they are incredible. I've done it many times, and I just, like I said, I went to Mexico early this year. Again, I'm learning more about myself. I'm learning how to fine-tune things and tweak things. And before we finish off, I want to just play this little video, if you don't mind, of the longevity program at SHA, because I love the video. I think it's so cool. So this.
What?
That was a little bit, it got cut off for some reason. I don't know why, but it gives you a feel for how future looking SHA is. So thank you, Dr. Mera.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate your time, and hopefully we'll see you again another time.